So every woman of color, whether you're thinking about real estate or you're thinking about building your own brand and your own business, I want us to get out of our heads and really think, why not us? When it comes to this real estate industry, just know that what's probably holding you back is lack of exposure and lack of alignment. Why not you? It's available to you, it's possible to you. You just have to put in the work.
Hello, and welcome to the Ambitious Woman of Color podcast. I'm your host, Jessica Lynn Rojas. This episode is part of our industry series where we spotlight ambitious women of color navigating careers in high barrier industries where we're often the only ones in the room and we're breaking through anyway. Today, we're talking about luxury real estate, an industry that was not built for women of color in mind, especially at the premium level. My guest is LaQuana McNeil, a luxury real estate mentor who helps agents become the obvious choice for high-end clients by elevating how they show up, how they position themselves, and how they get paid. We're getting into what it actually takes to break into luxury real estate as a woman of color, the unspoken rules, the access gaps, and how to position yourself in rooms where people don't expect you to be. If you ever consider real estate as a career path or already in the industry and ready to level up, this episode's for you. Let's dive in. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the podcast. Hi, LaQuana. I'm so excited to have you.
Thank you for having me, Jessica. I'm so excited to be here.
Yes, and LaQuana and I, we are in a sales membership together. So I immediately was like, oh my God, I need to bring her out of the podcast, especially for the industry series, because we're going to be talking about industries where there's a lot of high barriers and it's a lot more difficult for women of color to get into those spaces. And then when you're in it, it's a lot more challenging to navigate those spaces. So I'm excited to have you here today.
Yes. And I love what you're doing. We met back in Nashville in that in person event in November, and we spoke about, speaking on your podcast then. And I love what you've been doing, the guests you've been bringing on. So kudos to you for just showing up, keeping your word, and giving back to your community. It's amazing to see.
Thank you. All right. So before we start, let's get into our signature question. So, what is one thing that you refuse to sacrifice for your career?
My gosh. The one thing is my peace. It's my peace. I found early on in my career with selling real estate, I would be burning myself out, constantly answering the phone after 9 o'clock p.m., 10 o'clock p.m. to service my clients, not having a day off, going all in every single day. And then I didn't have any self care. I didn't take care of myself. So, one thing I am not sacrificing is my peace and at least one day off per week, at least one day
Yes.
off.
Yes. No, that's so necessary, especially, we're going to dive more into the industry, but the work that you do, you have to be at your best for that. And because you're a brand, you're a saleswoman, it's just so many layers to it. So, with that, so you are for, people new here. So you help agents become the obvious choice for premium clients, which is powerful, especially in this industry like real estate, where historically there haven't been much space for women of color. So I want to start with your story first. Like, how did you get into real estate and how did luxury become your lane?
Let me take you back 2009, right? I was graduating from college and I had that winter break when my stepfather told me, he said, "I think you would be great at selling real estate." And I said, "Well, if you help me take the exam and help me pay for it, because broke college student in my last year trying to get a full-time job." And he did. And over those 10 days of winter break, I went into classes. I took maybe 3 classes at a time per day, just went all in, took the school exam. In New York, you have to take a school exam and then a state exam. Took the school exam and state exam and passed. So by the time I graduated in '09, I was ready to go with my real estate license. And then I had a full-time offer at one of the big four accounting firms. So yeah, I went forward with that big four accounting firm offer. But after a few years, like I would still do my real estate here and there, I would dip and dabble. But after maybe 4 years in the accounting realm, it was too much for me. I was working maybe 10 to 12-hour days during the busy season. So I went to the partner of the
Mm-hmm.
firm and I said to him, "Look, I want to take a sabbatical. This is starting to affect my mental health. I want to take a step back so I could take a few steps forward." And they granted me the sabbatical, but I had a plan, Jessica. I said, while I had this time off, I want to make real estate work full time. So I would go into the office. I would wake up early, get there. Anybody who was looking at listings outside the office, introduce myself. And I was operating as if I was still in corporate, working 10 to 12 hours a day, doing all the things. And I was successful. I made the amount I would have made in corporate, I made it that summer. So say my yearly
Wow.
salary, I made it that summer. But I was also repeating the cycle of nonstop
Mhm.
work of 12-hour days. And that was not sustainable. It was not healthy. Long story short, I went back to corporate. I gave it my 2 weeks. I said, you know what? I'm going to make real estate work for me. But one thing I noticed was I was around the money, right? The movement. I was
Mhm.
auditing
Mhm.
hedge funds, private equity. I saw the numbers. I seen the
Yeah.
rent, the apartments these people were renting and the price point. So I knew what was available to me. I've always been that girl who's like, this is available to me. Why not me? So I started out, and maybe because I was young, I was maybe like 25, 26. I started in luxury. That was my lane. I knew the price points. I knew that it was just a matter of someone having more income, not necessarily because they were different,
Mhm.
right, in the way they
Mhm.
operated. I also aligned myself with a company in Wall Street in New York that sold luxury real estate. So this is the hack. If you're a real estate agent and you're trying to break into luxury, you want to get with a firm who actually has luxury listings for you to work,
Mhm.
who has the exposure. And I'm not going to lie, I'll go back in my community, I'll talk to my friends, and they're all doing sometimes non-luxury deals, sometimes more work for less money.
Mhm.
And and it's no problem helping people, working with people, do you, right? But I would always wonder, why aren't you going for this two comma club? Why aren't you going for the 7-figure deals? Why aren't you? And it was a lot of mindset. Or can this really happen for me?
Mhm.
And we'll talk about this later, but once I saw this gap, I created the real estate charm school. So I said, there's no way that these opportunities are available, but a lot of times we psych ourselves out. We're not sure how to break in. And I wanted to create that space for other agents.
Okay, like you said so much because first of
I
all,
know.
like you just threw in right there, like I went into a top four accounting firm, which like if listeners are not aware, which I mean maybe my listeners are because we're ambitious women, but like that in itself is such an accomplishment. So you just threw it in like casually and luxury real estate was my backup. Like, girl, so first of
Keep
all,
up.
let's honor that girl who was like going into accounting in like a top
Yes.
firm in New York City and then
Yes.
going into luxury real estate in New York City.
Yes.
I mean, we've
Yes.
all watched these shows, like Selling Sunset or, owning and buying Manhattan. I mean, when I look at those shows, I see maybe one, two, three max women of color. And if we talk about Black women, you see one, and then
Mm-hmm.
you see like
Mm-hmm.
everyone else is, white, Caucasian. So,
Mm-hmm.
and this is just to show that showing, a representation of like what maybe is not exactly the how it is in a brokerage firm, but what we're seeing is like the high stakes, like it is challenging, and especially when you're a woman of color and luxury real estate, it's about a certain image, right? So taking it back, like I know you said that you immediately knew, especially after working, viewing the books for like $1 million companies, what were like some thoughts or even like some experiences that you had? Because yes, you went in, but were there any challenges that you were having being a Black woman in New York and
Oh my
being in
gosh.
these
Oh my God.
spaces?
So happy you brought this up because when you think about it, imagine every time you turn on your TV and you look at someone selling luxury real estate, they do not look like you. So naturally, you may not believe that this is something that you can actually do because there's no
Mhm.
representation. Or if it is, it's one or two. And when they show up, the background, the aura, the culture, it's not always there from what the representation is.
Mhm.
When we finally see a man or woman look like us, it's like, yes, finally. And then they start operating like someone else. And it's just like, damn, it's a letdown for me.
Or you see like the dynamics of how the others play with,
Mm-hmm.
or
Mm-hmm.
act towards them or the
Mm-hmm. Yep.
competition, right?
Times no, sometimes we play small, but I think it's important for me to tell a little bit of my story when I was growing up, right? Because I grew up in Brooklyn, New York. I grew up with a single mom. And also, I was in the struggle. So I wanted to get out. And I always said, when I go to school, I'm going to go to college away. I went to Syracuse University. So it's about a 4-hour drive from New York. And I wanted to major in something where I would never be broke because I experienced that from a kid. And so I always had this like larger than life outlook in the world because all I saw was in Brooklyn, New York, the real Brooklyn back in the day. things going wrong, people not having money, all of the things. So I went to college and I said, what is one career that no matter what, you'll always do well? I don't know if it was a guidance counselor or somebody, a professor, they said, get into accounting. And that was my start into there. So now going back to what you said, yes, the representation is not there.
Mhm.
But it's so, and you know what? I wish there was like this one thing or this one person who came to me and said, you should get into luxury. I just knew. I just knew. I was exposed to it. I was around it in corporate. And I said, why not me? Why not me? So yeah.
So yeah, so you were audacious and definitely and you said, you wish you had that one person. Well, you get to be that one person for so many women.
Yes. Yes, and that's what I'm excited that I'm building this right now. I'm building out the real estate charm school. I'm showing people that, yes, we have to show up differently. Being a Black woman in luxury, you do have to know your stuff. Like, yes, you're going to get in the door, but when that opportunity presents itself, be ready for that opportunity. Know your stats, know your numbers. Now with ChatGPT and AI, not only, okay, you're already a woman of color in this industry, and now people are using AI to kind of 10x what they're doing, you have to show up in a way where you're needed, right?
Mhm.
You know your stats, you've studied this, you know how to negotiate. When I started out, something that I had to do was step outside of my brokerage and take a certified negotiation class twice. I
Mm.
would speak to mortgage lenders, explain to me this process. How does this work? How does that work? I would speak to attorneys. When it comes to contracts and this, what does this rider mean? What does this mean? Just explain the bare minimum in case I need to be able to understand that as I'm doing this deal when I negotiate contracts and terms. So I took it a step further. It wasn't just, you want to see this home? I'm on Instagram, I'm looking pretty, I'm looking cute, I'm doing my posts and my carousels and my reels. Absolutely not. I have to, what's gonna make me stand out? Because I'm going up against all these other people
Mhm.
that can easily get into this space. So when it's time for me to show up and an opportunity presents itself, I have to be prepared. I have to know my numbers. I studied my clients inside and out as if I was in their head. I knew their cultural backgrounds. I knew what mattered most when it came to finding a home. I knew how to run numbers and comps if they were buying for investment. So I took it deeper. And I believe what helped me stand out amongst the rest was the way that I showed up, not only physically, but passionately wanting to help. And in this luxury space, people don't have time to sit there and say, okay, let me try this person out. I saw on Instagram, let me try this person out. They go to
Mhm.
their friends and family and they say, Jessica, who did you use?
Mhm.
Because I don't want to waste time and I want someone who's good. But the minute I do the job great once, that's all I needed. I would be getting referral after referral after referral.
Yeah, that makes a big difference because anybody can sell and you might think like, "Oh, they're just doing it for the commission, so let me go to the person that I actually trust because, you know, all the agents are going to get the commission anyway, so I rather it go to the person who's actually going to be like you said the passion, the know the numbers and not just like, "Hey, here's something." And having you as the client figure it out.
Let me ask you, like, if you were looking for a luxury home, what would you be looking for in an agent? Would you want to say, I want to work with a woman of color? Like, I think that's also what's missing in the community. It's like
Mhm.
we want to get it done fast. We don't always know that we can hire our own representation.
Yeah. I mean, I for sure would want that.
Yes, yes. But a lot of people, they just want to get the deal done fast. They go by who sold in my area in the last 30 to 90 days. And there is a lot of buyers I find, they don't even
Mhm.
know, oh, I can hire my own person. They'll go to a new development site and they'll just go with who the seller's agent is on site,
Yes,
not
uh-huh.
knowing that, no, you can research and hire your own agent to represent you. That person on site represents the builder. They have their best interest in mind, but who has
Mhm.
your best interest in mind? Who can negotiate on your behalf? Who can
Yeah.
show up for you when you're not present? So I think that that's also a gap in this industry that people don't know. You can hire your own representation.
Yeah, no, I love that, and it's good to, like I'm learning my boyfriend is buying investment property, and that's one of the things too that he had a challenge at the beginning is finding an agent that is experienced with investors, that is gonna be having the best interests in mind, that is gonna be doing a lot of the work that he had been doing, a lot of the, like, looking for it and then running the numbers and seeing if it makes sense for an investor. So, like, I'm sure you probably get all types of buyers, right? But just seeing that disconnect where you as a buyer have to do all of the heavy lifting when there are so many experienced great agents that can do that work for you and make it more seamless.
Yes. And this is the thing. I hear so many buyers said, I did all the work. I'll have agents come to me who said, I started out as a buyer and I saw how much work I had to do. And I said, well, if I'm doing it all anyway, let me get licensed. Same thing with what your boyfriend is going through. He's running the numbers. He's making sure that when they do the inspection, everything checks out and he can flip this property or do whatever he wants to do with it versus the agent should be picking up a lot of that load.
Mhm.
But when it comes to being an agent in today's society, I'm just seeing people saying, well, I'm going to make this big commission. I'm just going to show up and show the property. It's like a numbers game, but they just have to do a little more than the average person.
And that's where, like you said, you can differentiate yourself, right? Like being like the I'm gonna do it for you. And I feel like for us women of color, and all the listeners, like, telling them to work harder and doing their stuff, they're gonna get it. They're gonna do it. So, like, also wanna talk about the identity piece because, you were talking about, like, how you were showing up and not just externally, but internally. And, like, okay, these girls are gonna be like, "I'm gonna go and know my stuff. I'm gonna learn how to negotiate. I'm gonna know the market, know my client inside and out." But then, like, the next level is, like, how are you positioning yourself? Not just marketing, but how are you like presenting yourself? How are you, especially with the competition, differentiating yourself? And a lot of that, like you said earlier, it's mindset, it's internal, it's your beliefs. So let's talk about that.
Let's talk about that. And I think that it's so imperative that you step into the identity of an agent who closes premium clients and high end deals. That starts internal. Do you take care of yourself? Are you taking care of your body? Are you reading books? Are you taking that time out for yourself to just breathe? To make sure you're taking care of your health. And another thing, once you deal with that internal and you make time for yourself, then the external, when you show up to these properties, make sure you look presentable. Your nails are clean. Your outfit, as a woman of color, sometimes we have a lot of beautiful parts to ourselves that we don't need to show the world because we want people to be focused on the house and not on our looks. Right? So make sure you're showing up. You have on a suit. You're looking professional. If it's summertime, you have on a nice dress. If you feel like things are a little, you know what I'm trying to say? You cover it up a little bit because we want to be professional. And then when you leave that appointment, you take off the sweater, you take off the blazer. But in that moment, this is your time. You need to show up as that person. Sometimes we think, oh, if I want to sell luxury, I have to get the luxury car. I have to get the, you do not. Keep your car clean, right? Because you may have to. I don't recommend driving clients around, but there are some agents who do drive their clients from appointment to appointment. So when they come into your car, it's representation of yourself. Okay. You want to always be ready. So you don't stay ready. So you don't have to get ready. I ran the comps on this house. I'm telling you right now, this is probably what we need to offer if we want to get this home. This is how I plan to negotiate on your behalf. Practicing your scripts when you're in front of that seller and they want to sell their home, knowing exactly what to say and making it about them. There's so many things I could go on and on and on, but that's just a little bit of
Yes.
internally being still with yourself, taking care of your mind and your body, reading your books, your podcasts, reading your Bible, whatever it may be, taking care of yourself first, then externally showing up as that woman who is going to be the professional when she's in front of the client, even when she's not in front of the client.
So how do you deal okay, like, I learned everything and I read the books and I listened to the podcast, but now I'm feeling like I'm in these spaces, right? And it's like and talking about, like, access, the rooms you're in, the relationships, like, people referring you, and now maybe I'm feeling a little self-conscious or I'm feeling like an imposter. Okay, are they gonna figure out that I'm not, person that the persona that I'm trying to portray? Like, how do you deal with, like, that deeper level of mindset and identity?
It's going to happen. So we prepare for it. Like, no, okay, this is my first time breaking into luxury. I have not even worked with a luxury client before, if this is what you're saying in your mind.
Mhm.
Now I'm in these spaces. Now I have the opportunity. Now they're in front of me. I feel like an imposter. I haven't closed a deal, but I'm talking about it. So we prepare for it now because we know it's going to happen. Okay, I need to be able to say to myself, my ambition and my wants for this industry and to break into luxury is so much bigger than this fear that I have of being in this room, of feeling like I don't know what to say. But my drive, my needing, my wanting of this is so much bigger than this feeling. And all it takes is one. I have to start somewhere. Everybody started from somewhere. So there are people who say, well, what if they ask me, have you closed any luxury deals? What do I say? I'm a little nervous. I don't want to feel like I haven't yet. You will be my first, but I work with a firm who closes 5 a month. You lean on your firm. I work with a mentor and a coach who coaches me with luxury buyers, right? So never feel like people won't give you a chance because it's your first or you're an imposter because this is your first. Everybody starts somewhere, but what you can do is prepare for that moment because it's going to happen. It's going to happen.
I love it. And any listeners, this is your coach if you're trying to break into luxury already. I grilled her for you. Okay.
Yes. Thank you, Jessica. Exactly. Exactly.
All right. So now let's talk strategy. Like if someone is like, okay, I listen to the podcast, I want to do this, I want to get into real estate and I want to move into luxury. How do you like start that process?
Okay. So if you are listening into this podcast and you, first of all, should be licensed as a real estate agent, and now you're ready to work with premium clients, I would first say something that's slept on a lot is aligning yourself with the right broker. You want to work under a brokerage who has access to luxury deals or access to luxury clients. I say that because you want to borrow other people's audiences and leverage the brokerage in the beginning until you build up your own black book. So when there are open houses that are taking place on a weekend, you're going to raise your hand. I can host that open house for you. And you're going to learn, what is this industry like? How are people coming in? What are they saying? What questions are they asking? And I want you to also go to these open houses outside of hosting them. Go to a $2 million, $3 million open house. Get uncomfortable. This is imperative. Get uncomfortable, right? If you're someone who is making calls and you're only making calls to expired listings or for sale by owners that are under $1 million, I want you to start calling the ones that are above. You'll see it's a different price point, but for the most part, the script is the same. So I want you to do those three things. And then, of course, I do believe you should have a coach or a mentor at your firm or a coach outside of your firm that's going to help you break into this marketplace to understand how luxury buyers think, what kind of level of service you need to come with, how you negotiate certain deals above $1 million, if luxury is above 1 million. Jessica, in a lot of these markets, luxury is not only $1 million plus. Luxury can be 650,000, 700,000. Right? It's
Mm-hmm.
perception. So,
Mm-hmm.
but those are the few things that is going to 10x your break into this luxury market.
I love that. In talking about like, okay, so in real estate, it's commission based income. So that can feel risky,
Yeah.
especially for women of color. So I mean, it like for women of color, like when it comes to money, like I need stability. I need that safety, right? So how do you navigate building something sustainable when you are in a commission base? Like this is sales. This is eat what you catch.
Yes, you better have some money management skills. So, first of all, you have to be a little crazy to do real estate full time on commission. The thing that, if you're coming from, like I did, corporate, and then you're going into real estate full time, let's just talk about that person because I just did a launch, and my last launch, all of the women had a dual career. They were in corporate and they had real estate as a part time or trying to go into a full time. So if you are in that situation, I want you to save at least 6 to 9 months of expenses, including your nails, your hair, the things you like to do on the weekends. I need you to save 6 to 9 months of expenses because I need you to have a cushion. Because as you're working deals, you never want to push people into certain homes and
Mhm.
get them house poor because you need this deal to work for you. I want you to have a clear mind while you're working these deals. Okay, so that's one. Now, when you are in commission and you're doing it full time, I need you to have some money management skills. I need you to take that 20% and put it in a separate account for taxes. All right. I need you to have, whatever you're trying to build up, know that when you get these commissions, you can flip this commission into investment properties. You can flip them into investing in stock, investing in other businesses that you've always wanted, but that takes strategy. So you need to have money for savings, that 20% for tax, and money for your everyday life. This is when money management is key. And you also need to have a nervous system that feels safe working on commission. So maybe you want to dial back on a little bit of lifestyle stuff when it comes to travel and doing these things until you have enough cushion to say, okay, I'm good to go. I have at least 6 to 8 months saved. I know where my next deal is coming from. A lot of agents do not know right now where their next deal is coming from. So you need to
Mm,
have a lead generation system and a strategy every single day where you're either calling people, following up in the DMs, you are scheduling calls, you're hosting webinars. These are all the things that I teach so agents feel safe knowing that they're working on commission.
I love that. See where we are, you know, tackling all the different areas. And what would you say would be other like areas that somebody trying to break into luxury real estate needs to consider? So we were talking about knowing your numbers, knowing your client, positioning yourself, being financially savvy, getting with a brokerage that already has all that experience in selling luxury. It's like what would be some other steps?
I think too, outside of steps though, is knowing why do you even want to break into luxury? Why do you really want to break
Mhm.
in it? Is it because you saw something on TV and you want to be like them? Or do you realize that you could do the same amount of work for more money and still make an impact? So that why is key. That's number one, because it's always going to show up like, okay, I'm tired. I don't feel like it. This client cursed me out. I lost the deal. I didn't show up right. But I got my why right here in front of me. I'm doing it because of X. You have to know that because this industry right here. I did it in one of the toughest cities, New York City. Selling real estate in New York City is different from any other city.
Yeah.
The way we write offers is not the same. Most agents are putting together a boilerplate contract provided by the state
Mhm.
and they are negotiating terms and doing all of that. We are sending this contract to the attorney, right? It's just different in how we do business. And I'm
Mhm.
licensed in about 4 states right now. So that's how I can tell you what the difference is.
Wow.
So I think outside of strategy and having a lead generation system, aligning yourself with the right brokerage, making sure your skills are set when it comes to knowing how to negotiate, knowing how to dress the part and show up, knowing exactly what to say, having conversations that convert is understanding why are you doing this in the first place.
Yeah, for sure. Your why is what's going to like help you push yourself more, help you bring that passion because like I'm seeing the difference of how you're talking about it. And I mean, even I've seen these shows, especially the ones, the New York real estate luxury shows. And I'm like, why did I get into that? Because, they're walking in, like you said, driving the nicest cars, like looking like models. I'm like,
Yeah, looking like
are you
models. Do you want
selling
somebody?
yourself? Are you selling the house?
Okay. And you have to remember what are you selling at the end of the day, right? Because sometimes they're showing up in these outfits and I don't know what they're selling. You have to know what you're selling.
Mhm.
My gosh, when you show up to showings, make sure you have comfortable shoes. Let me tell you, true luxury buyers, a lot of the times with the shows, they only show that you're coming to one showing. But when you're
Mhm.
showing a buyer who's looking at premium homes, you're showing at least 3 to 4, and you do not want to slow them down with 6-inch pumps. You need to wear something comfortable. All of this glam, if you're going into a listing appointment, I'm just being real, Jessica. You're going
Mhm.
into a listing appointment, you're wearing this short dress, you have a makeup on, you look like you're going to the Met Gala, and you walk into a home and it's a husband and wife sitting there and you're doing your presentation. When you sit down, everything is out. Depending, you may not be hired. And some people will argue with me on that and say, well, they shouldn't be looking at what I'm wearing. If they want to sell their home, that's what I'm there for. But you have to keep everything in mind, especially as a woman of color. We got to work twice as hard. It
Right.
just is what it is. It just is what
Yeah.
it is.
That's exactly like you touch exactly all the things that I was thinking because, you know, you may get this like preconception or idea of what selling real estate, luxury real estate looks like based on these shows. But, you know, that's just for entertainment. That's not like you just like proof that's not the reality because
Exactly.
everything about you is what is going to help the selling, but it's not like I'm going to sell with my body, but it's like I'm selling as like I am showing the type of agent that I am. And all of that is a reflection of you. So, especially like you said, if it's like a husband and wife and then you're making them uncomfortable, like they're going to go with somebody else because
Yes.
they're
Yes.
going to feel more
Yes.
comfortable and at ease and not like worried
Mhm.
about.
Yeah, well, like if you're left with my man and I'm on vacation and you got a showing on the weekend. you just may not get hired. I'm just keeping it
Yes.
real, you know?
No, I love it. I love it. And now I want to talk about like what you do. So you have the charm school and you mentor agents in being the obvious choices and being the ones that the buyers that want luxury properties are going to. So tell us a little bit more about that.
Started charm school in 2018, and when I started it, I was working at a firm, and all the agents there said, well, what's wrong? Is real estate not working out for you? Because this was not popular in 2018 to have a course, to have an ebook, to start teaching other agents as it is now. It's like everybody has a course and an ebook and a
Mhm.
podcast, right? So I started in 2018 because I noticed women of color, people in my community, they would be at these brokerages, but still feel scared to ask their broker questions or feel shy or didn't want to look stupid. We didn't have Chat GPT. So I
Mhm.
said, let me create a safe space where people can go to. I have trainings, I have ebooks, and I have a masterclass coming up that I want to invite everybody to that I run that can show you some of the natural ways to break into this industry if it's on your mind and if it's something that you've been wanting to do. So with the Real Estate Charm School, we provide trainings. I have a mastermind. So it really depends on where you are in this journey. And I have something for everybody. So really excited about it.
Yes. And can you give us some examples of like what, like the before and after, like when you have some mentees coming in and like what is your like,
I'm so
their
excited when you
persona
ask me
to
this.
how yes.
Yeah, because I will get agents coming in and I love it because they'll work with me for about 12 weeks and they'll come in. They'll have all of this mindset work we got to work on first. On what's available, what's possible. They give me all these excuses and I let them go because I understand I was where you were. I get that. And they'll go from buying leads, they'll go from not having any clients to after these 12 weeks or even after those first 30 days, getting a deal in contract, closing their first deal with me, which I get so emotional and excited about because think about an agent who feels like I can't even close one deal. I don't even know if this is for me, about to give up. They step into my world. They work with me for 12 weeks and they get to the closing table and they close their first deal and they see what's possible and they don't give up on themselves. But would they have had that? They didn't have a mentor or coach pushing them through. That's why I believe in this so much. So I've seen that. I've seen someone go from working 175 deals up to 300K deals to finally stepping out and saying, I can do the 6K. We come up with a strategy together for their market and then them getting into contract and seeing them light up and seeing what's possible. And for me, it's deeper than, oh, we spent 12 weeks together. It's like, I am expanding
Mhm.
their mindset, what's possible. And these are things they will never forget. And also, they're making an impact, they're making income, they're changing their trajectory and their finances throughout this process. So, yeah, I love what I do.
Yeah, I mean I can tell like you just light up when you talk about it. So like what is one thing that you feel women of color need to know of what's possible for them in this industry that no one else is talking about?
There's so many things, but I think the one thing that I would say is understand that it doesn't always happen overnight. It's not something that you say, I want to do luxury real estate. I want to break into the higher tier, higher premium client realm. And it's taking longer than I expect. A couple things may be happening. Maybe you don't have the right plan. Maybe you're not around the right people. Maybe you need to change brokerages and you know this, but you've been holding back. And you have to really sit there and say, did I go all in on my business? Am I giving it a chance? Or am I just trying it on the weekends? Am I just doing it
Mhm.
once a week? Do I need to find help and mentorship? Right. But I think that one thing is if there's something you truly want, it's available to you. You just need the right strategy and stick with it for at least 6 months before you're giving up on your goals and on your dreams when it comes to breaking into this market.
Love that. And what would you say are challenges that you've seen women of color especially that okay, they did all that stuff. Like what do you think gets in the way between them staying or growing in the long term in this career?
Number one is exposure. They do not have the exposure. They don't have the opportunities all the time. Like I said earlier, when it comes to luxury real estate, a lot of the clientele are giving referrals. But how can I get a referral if I've never been exposed to this industry? So
Mhm.
I would say, think about all the places that you've ever worked. If you're trying to break into luxury real estate, go onto your LinkedIn, start looking at the people you used to work with, because you probably can't go after people if you're still working, right, at a corporate job. Start speaking to them, start having conversations. I think the one thing is we don't have the exposure that other people have that come into the space that we see on TV with Owning Manhattan. And
Mhm.
the clientele, when you want to get a referral, somebody has to afford that price point, right? And it's not always in our sphere of influence. So we have to start stepping out. We have to go to the galas. We have to go to the foundations. We have to go volunteer. We have to be in our communities so we can start having these conversations with people who are already looking in these marketplaces. So I would
Mhm.
say start getting that exposure that you need, because that is going to help you get to your goals faster, and looking for in your market, in your city, what's happening in the next 30 days that your ideal client is going to. And you need to show up there. And you need to have conversations. Don't always say, I'm a real estate agent. I can help you. Here's my card. Have a real conversation. Naturally, somebody will want to know what it is that you do and how you can help them. But first, be someone of service and listen and see how can you be of service to that other person that you're speaking to. How can you be of value? And then naturally, you can tell people that you sell real estate, that you can help them with their real estate needs. So I think it's exposure and starting to show up to where your people are, where your clients are, that's going to help you break into this industry for sure.
Yeah, and it's definitely like your target client. It's important, like you said, to understand what their desires, what their needs are, what are their non-negotiables, and understand that. And that's what makes you a good agent, is like being able to anticipate what they're gonna like want, and the information and services and support that they're going to need. So like in thinking about that, like how would you say it's like the difference between somebody that's like first time home buyer versus like experienced buyer,
Hmm.
and like what they need to know? Because like if I was going in and I'm thinking, "Oh my god, this house is $3 million, like how am I supposed to sell through or convince somebody," right? Or that might be like the
Yeah.
thought, right? You're convincing somebody. But I'm sure that these people, like if they're looking and shopping for $3 million home, they can afford it. So how does you as the agent understand their like
Right.
their drive or their budget?
hmm I think also as an agent, you want to stand out above the rest, and you want to start going back to your other question, thinking about things that they may not be telling you. So they may tell you, I want a 4 bedroom, I want a 2 bathroom, I want to be in this area. But a question that a lot of agents are not asking is, why is that important to you? If you're in a city, do you need to be near a certain train stop? If they tell you that they're expecting, think about that kitchen layout, think about certain things, like think ahead. Always
Mhm.
think about the questions that or the things that they are not always answering that may be important to them. Now, a first time home buyer can still afford a $3 million house, right? Sometimes we think first time home buyers, starter homes, 200,000. Not always.
Yeah.
Yep, yep. So when it comes to the first time home buyer and the person that may be a little more buying for the second or third time, I find first time home buyers need a little more hand holding. They're buying for the first time. They finally saved enough to buy. They finally got their credit right. Maybe they're buying with their spouse. So they're a little more nervous. They need more assurance. And that's you really listening, really letting them speak and get things out, not going to a house and saying, I like this. You like this? What you think about that? Ooh, that was a nice. Let them see what they like.
Mhm.
And they may like things you would never buy. And that's their business. I find agents, they go in, "Oh, yeah, I didn't like that. It didn't have closet space, all the things. That's none of your business. They love it. Another thing to answer your question is, don't always look at the pre approval and how much they can afford based on what the lender said. I want you to sit your client down and say, based on where you want to be in the next year, what would you like to spend per month on your mortgage? All in taxes, insurance, mortgage payment. How much would you like to spend? I see you pre-approved for 2 million, but I want to spend around 5K, 7K. Now we know we need to adjust that price point.
Mhm.
Forget what that paper says. Know what your client wants. And I think that one thing right there stands out from the rest, because agents would just say, oh, you pre-approved for this much? Let me start looking up to this price point. No, sit your client down and talk about that vision of where they see themselves in the next year, how much they want to spend on mortgage. You still want to take trips this year, right? You still have private school, you still have your goals. Okay, so based on that, how much do you want to spend on this home per month?
Yeah, and that's also gonna help you for, like, for the long run because they're going to be like, hey, my agent thought about everything that I wasn't even thinking about. I just thought of what I got pre approved for, but I wasn't thinking like vacations. I wasn't thinking, like you said, private school. And, and then now, after the experience and the buyer moves into this home that they just went by the number of the pre-approval, right? And then now they're like,
And
"Oh,
then
I wish that I
they
would
call
have known."
you and they're mad. They're like, I'm house poor. You put me in this house. I'm
Yes.
never giving you business. And you're like, what? You told me you wanted this. Yeah. The agent's always to blame?
Yeah. Versus the opposite, if they're like, "Oh my god, my agent raised this to me, and now I'm so grateful that they did because I wasn't thinking about it." And they're gonna be like, "You need to go to her because she saved my finances."
Yes, yes. When a client feels like you have their back, they will always work with you and give you their referrals. That's how I stood out too. I worked with a lot of clients in Long Island City, New York, and they were from an Asian background. And I would have clients say to me, I would have other agents say to me, how do they trust you so much? How do you get in with them? And I said, well, when I go in, I represent them, I negotiate, I make sure they're good, I actually care, I'm checking in. I'm following up. They are always going to hear from me on a weekly basis. And if we're working through a deal, more than that. So knowing that you truly care about your clients is key. Like actually caring, not just caring for the deal to go
Yeah,
through. And then
yeah.
following up after the deal as well.
And I feel like all this is so good. So definitely, if you are interested in getting into luxury real estate, please go to LaQuana. She's gonna help you be the best agent. This is so freaking good. So I
Yes.
just
Thank you
want,
for having me on.
yeah. So like, what is one thing that every woman of color listening today can take away, especially if she's thinking about real estate or like leveling up in this industry?
So every woman of color, whether you're thinking about real estate or you're thinking about building your own brand and your own business, I want us to get out of our heads and really think, why not us? When it comes to this real estate industry, just know that what's probably holding you back is lack of exposure and lack of alignment. Why not you? It's available to you, it's possible to you. You just have to put in the work. You just have to put in the work.
I love it. All right. So where can people connect with you and how can they work with you?
Yeah, I'm always available on Instagram. Come into my DMs. Tell me if you heard this podcast. It's Miss McNeil, S.McNeil. And I do have a free masterclass coming up on license2income.com. I'll give you the link so you can drop in the show notes for
Mhm.
me. And if they want to learn more about going from license to luxury and break into this market, I would love for them to join me.
I love that. Well, thank you so much again. I feel like this is going to be the episode that anyone trying to get into luxury real estate is going to go to. So, yes, I love it.
I
Well,
love
thank you
it.
so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Talk to you soon.
Career Baddies, this is part of our industry series. And whether real estate is your path or you're in an industry where relationship, visibility, and access really drive your income and opportunity, I want you to hear this. A lot of women of color are already doing high level work, but is still being seen as support instead of leadership. And if we were to work together, the first thing I look at is very simple. When you're getting results at work, who's getting credit for it? Because I see this all the time. Like you're the one closing the deals, managing the client, solving the issues before it becomes a problem. But in the updates or in the room, it's your manager or your team or just we. And that's where you start getting stuck. Not because you're not good at what you do, but because no one is clearly associating the outcome with you. So we fix that first. We go through how you're talking about your work in emails, updates, client conversations, internal check-ins, not by changing what you do, just making it clear what you actually did. Then we look at where you're spending your time. Because a lot of women I work with are busy, but not necessarily busy in a way that moves them forward. So we get honest about it. What are you doing that builds your income, your relationships, your reputations? And what are you doing just because you're the reliable one? Because those are two very different paths. And then we look at the real moments of your day, like when a client comes in and you automatically hand it off, or when you know the answer but you wait for someone else to speak first, or when you leave a conversation thinking, I should have said it differently or more directly. We work on those moments so you're actually the one leading them in real time, not supporting them. So people stop seeing you as someone who gets things done and start seeing you as someone they trust with decisions, clients, and bigger opportunities. That's what leads to more money, visibility, and more authority in your role. If that resonates, DM me on Instagram at Jessica Lynn Rojas or book a call at jessicalynn-wellness.com/scheduling. And if you want more support to your inbox, join my email community, Dear Ambitious Woman of Color. Link is in the show notes. Take care of yourself, Career Baddies. Vámonos.